Greetings, gaming historians, and welcome to Lord of Lore, where we break down the lore and history of our favorite video games and fantasies. And today, we're returning to the world of Amalur to study some new content that has shed light on one of the most mysterious of Amalur's futures, the Age of Ruin. Taking place shortly after the events of Reckoning, the Age of Ruin is an era of rampant chaos and destruction that decimated civilization and nearly brought an end to Amalur, erasing many of the cities and landmarks that players have come to know. Thankfully, this era would be brought to an end by the unifying works of the Colossi Empire. But what was the Age of Ruin, and why did it happen? Well, thanks to some more info given to me by my anonymous supporter, I have new content to share on what this evil age was and how it came to be. Now, fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. Let's discuss. Before we begin, we need to understand the in-game lore and how it affected the years to come. As most of us know, most of Amalur's dominant civilizations, like the Docklefar and the Gnomes, made their home in the mystical Feylands, but these kingdoms were already weakened by the decade-long Crystal War sparked by Tirnoch and her followers, the Tuatha De Aun. Thankfully, the Fateless One defeated Tirnoch and scattered the Tuatha, but this would not be the end of the Fateless One's influence on the world of Amalur. Firstly, the Docklefar discovered the Prismeer Caverns of Amethyst, Tirnoch's former prison, and began to shape their entire magical studies and trade systems around the powerful magic. In addition, the Fateless One made several journeys after defeating Tirnoch. One such journey was to the Teeth of Naros, where they not only met the Colossi, but assisted them in reconnecting with Athene and fulfilling her vision for the city of Idela. Finally, the Fateless One's last known journey was to the mountains of Mithros, where they stopped an avatar of the chaos god Talogris from abusing the weakening of fate and throwing the world into absolute chaos. But did the Fateless One truly stop the Chaos God for good? Before his avatar is slain, Talogris promises he will return, stronger than ever, to enact his revenge. Thanks to the new content, we can now assume that Talogris' revenge is no idle threat, but rather the catalyst of the events that make up the Age of Ruin. Originally, many of us lore fans, including myself, thought the Age of Ruin to be caused by the maddening of the Fae. And while there is nothing to disprove that notion, a number of promotional videos for Project Copernicus point to the Niskaru, Agents of Chaos, as the chief cause of the Age of Ruin. In addition, a number of other concept art I found about the Niskaru indicate a mass invasion of Niskaru. Whereas Fatesworn revolved around a growing cult that opened minor portals throughout the mountains of Mithros, this concept art shows enormous hives of Niskaru raining like hail from the very sky, infecting the entire landscape with a deep purplish glow. Needless to say, the Niskaru have long sought to destroy Amalur and bring it into chaos, perhaps trying to create a new deep gloam, and it is likely that they were trying to do so again in the Age of Ruin. So what exactly happens during the Age of Ruin? As we know from future history concerning the major races of Amalur, the rampaging forces of Ruin, now known to be mostly Niskaru, but also including Tirgash and possibly Wild Fae, brought mass destruction across the world, destroying great cities like Rathir and Alabastra. In fact, the chaos and destruction was so great that the surviving civilizations isolated themselves from the rest of the world, severing all ties of communication and trade with other kingdoms. Because of this, society and innovation began to decline, and the forces of chaos were free to ravage the land unchecked. During the Age of Ruin, only one kingdom remained unaffected by the chaos, and that kingdom was the Colossi of Idela, who had just achieved a cultural revolution thanks to the efforts of the Fateless One. However, the Niskaru were furious that a mortal race dared bring order to the chaos, so the Niskaru lord Brecthamore rose from the mountains of Othyris and took the shape of the troll god Naros. Using his shape to deceive the trolls, Brecthamore led a deadly war against the Colossi that would keep them isolated from the rest of the world for several decades. With the Colossi taken care of, the Niskaru turned to the last force that could threaten the reign of chaos, and that was the magical wisdom stored in the world tree, Atiru, the All-Knowing. The great tree was guarded by the militant Fae-like Alfar known as the Heronar, but using powerful chaos magic, the Niskaru were able to destroy Atiru. However, the Great Tree foresaw the Niskaru's attack, and before his death, Atiru channeled his knowledge into the surrounding woods, preserving his wisdom as the Heronar drove the Niskaru away from their forests. The Niskaru would continue to burn and pillage during the remaining years of the Age of Ruin, but thanks to the help of Athene, the terrible age would soon come to an end. In the final years of Ruin, the Colossi finally defeated Brecthamore by using the magic of Athene to strip away his disguise and banish him beyond the Arcane Veil. Isolated no longer, the Colossi felt spurred by Athene to spread their wisdom and culture to other lands. So they gathered their armies and marched through the Feylands, driving out the forces of chaos and inspiring the kingdoms around them to join in their holy crusade. After driving out the Niskaru and Tirgash raiders, the Colossi began to rebuild the shattered world, reconnecting the roads and trade routes between the kingdoms, re-establishing trade, communication, and innovation. As the Colossi founded the great Hyperion Empire, the Age of Ruin finally came to an end, and the Age of Enlightenment began. In one last act of defiance, the Niskaru lord Formalidon stole the ancient orb of Aglosereth, a powerful artifact capable of killing any mortal and reanimating their remains. Unified under the Hyperion flag, the mortal alliance known as the Concordance rose against Formalidon, scattering his undead armies, stealing the orb, and giving it to the newly reformed Warsworn for protection. With the last Niskaru lord defeated, the kingdoms of Amalur are free to grow in the Age of Enlightenment. Remember, much of this information is prone to change in future content, but thanks to the clues given in both Reckoning and the expansion Fatesworn, we have lots of information revealing that THQ is likely continuing to follow the intended world story of Project Copernicus and its promotional videos. However, you still may have some questions. Did the Wild Fae really have any involvement in the Age of Ruin? Well, thanks to the Copernicus videos, the Niskaru seem to be the main culprits, but this does not mean the fan theory of the Mad Fae is completely refuted. Remember, without the power of Tirnock's fate, many of the Fae are starting to change or leave, and while some may find it odd that some Fae would side with Niskaru, this would not be the first time that Darker Fae had teamed up with the forces of Chaos, with the Tuatha even being willing to unleash the mighty Niskaru Lord Balor. And what is the Orb of Aglosereth? Well, while this is completely conjecture, one of the side quests in Fatesworn revolves around a gnome from the Well of Souls project who uses crystals to reanimate the dead. While this does not completely revive one's soul like the Well of Souls, it is capable of endlessly repairing and reviving one's physical remains. Could the orb be a future product of these experiments? Only time will tell. And that about does it for today's video. The Age of Ruin is a dark and mysterious time, but will we see it in future Amalur content? Do you think this age is the result of Telogris and his Niskaru? What happened to the other kingdoms during this period of chaos? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Feel free to comment what you would like to see next, new videos regularly. God bless!